stand for the pledge. The flag is right behind you there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So to start off, we just have a few routine items to approve. And I just need a motion to accept the minutes of the regular meeting of August 13th, accept and order file the minutes of the Committee on Special Education for the dates listed, as well as accept and order file the minutes of Committee on Preschool Special Education for the dates listed. Do we have a motion? Amanda, seconded by Heidi. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay. Anybody for public comments? No? Okay. That moves us to our committee. Sure can.
Personnel coming up first,
Yes.
right? So I have a question. What is the rec attendance? What's the responsibility of the rec attendance?
Yep. So, you want to take it? So, rec attendant, we have, want to make sure I get it on here. We have folks that sign in at the pool desk, and we also have folks that help with supervision down at, we have events at Derby.
Oh.
So it's more like supervision. They're not a lifeguard, they're not the soccer coach, they're those extra people to help make things operate.
No matter what the program is, so it can be like flexible.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Personnel, Mr. Canini.
This month's pretty much routine for this time of the year, filling slots of academics and activities, sports, and everything. We do have a resignation, Patricia Gates. She's been a school bus driver since since 2006.
She rescinded.
Today.
Oh, you didn't tell me.
She rescinded today, so she's off the actual board doc. I apologize.
He had to print it off. He comes prepared.
Yeah, he did come prepared. Yes, so this is the third time she's rescinded it, so.
She decided to stay a little bit longer, but
Good. Good. The only other thing, are we still appointing Joe? We're appointing Joe Manning as the Director of Facilities, too. Other than that, it's pretty routine.
yeah, so congratulations to Joe.
Yes.
The folks that were at opening day got to hear me talk about that, but a guy who's been here, it'll be 18 years in October, I believe, if I've got my math correct. So nice to have somebody who knows this place and knows the people here and that we know. It's one of the board schools for me has been to grow our leaders. Not that I had anything to do with how great Joe is, but he impressed the committee and ended up being one of the finalists and did a great job in the final interviews as well. So welcome to him.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions for Vince? Okay, by consent, that carries. That moves us to athletics. Mr. Fitzgerald.
So the athletic committee actually did not have a meeting last month, but we do have some information. Fall sports are in full swing. Numbers seem to be pretty good at this point. We'll hopefully have some of those regarding football as an update. Next meeting, preliminary, what we're hearing is roughly 30 on the JV team, and modified is in the 40s. So it sounds like they will have 2 teams for modified as well. So kids who have shown up seems to be going well so far.
Great. Anybody have any questions for Mike? That moves us to audit. Mrs. Grimaldi.
Thank you. We did have a pretty quick and speedy audit meeting last week, which was good. So for the treasurer's report for the month of July, we had $847,000 in receipts and $2.8 million in disbursements, giving us a balance in the general fund of $650,000 and a total cash on hand of $4 million. The extracurricular account balances also for the was also for the month of July, and there's just, normal activity for the summer, not a lot going on. There were some summer camps, I believe, that were run a little bit in there, girls basketball, but other than that, it's normal activity there. The monthly bills are in the appropriation stats report and the revenue stats report are all in our board docs. And we do have a resolution for our annual BOCES lease agreement for leasing of copiers. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? So we have 2 items we have to approve. Just need a motion to approve July's treasurer's report. Heidi, seconded by? Vince, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. You heard the recommendation. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Hudson Falls Central School District approves the updated resolution for the BOCES lease agreement of copiers in the amount of $44,923.53. We have a motion. Crystal, seconded by? Vince, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay. That concludes audit. So transportation, Dr. Steele.
As always, you workforce update, we hired 3 garage helpers. Been working out well. They've allowed our mechanics to do daily stuff. We also had 2 more people driving. They had a fender bender with bus 1. Big development. Got approval for development 42.
Any leeway on that's heading for the lobbying at all?
So we are talking about the fleet electrification, and it is one of the things we'll be trying to advocate for some more time with that. But right now, there's nothing concrete to share. And for certain, our study has started. We had a pretty lengthy meeting, and they were on site. It was an interesting group to listen present. 3 guys, and they're all very, 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 very different. They came out to see us and do the site visit. I think we've got our bases covered with the group we're working with, and actually Cornice is one of the few groups that's doing this across the state, so they've got some practice in. But Dave spent some time, we all spent some time, but then Dave and Aaron spent some time actually over at the bus facility with them. More to come when it comes, but I'll keep beating the drum about the electrification process, for sure. It's widespread, so the state is collecting the same information, so I expect we'll have it in October, because every school district had to go in, beginning of this month, and report to the state where you are in the process. They had, Kevin, was it maybe half a dozen questions? Yeah. Half a dozen questions on a survey that every school had to do, so once we see that, I'm guessing it'll come out. But around here, several schools have, for certain. Everybody's in different stages, because not a lot of providers, like I had mentioned, so you sit in line and wait. So we started with Cornice last October, and they're starting ours now. And part of that's because we're eligible for a lot of grants. The study is completely covered by grant funding, and Hudson Falls is the school that's eligible for that. Not every school is eligible for that due to our socioeconomic status. So we had to wait a little bit longer so we could access that grant money. More to come. I know I say that a lot about bus electrification, but that's kind of where we're at.
Any questions for Mr. Steele? Okay, that moves us to buildings and grounds. Mrs. Borland.
Okay, well, the big news is tonight we had our tour of the buildings with the required walkthrough by the Board of Education. So a lot of this that I'm going to talk about we saw tonight, but I'll just go over it quickly. You have there in your notes The energy performance contract, the boilers are they up and running now? There was a issue with one.
There's still one that's
Okay.
awaiting repair and
Okay,
parts.
okay, but we have redundancy in the system, so that's not going to be a problem. Lighting is on schedule. As we saw, the painting, it's still continuing on, but it looks great, what we saw tonight, so that's exciting. We also toured some of the classrooms, some of the new furniture that came through the federal funding, and I thought that also looked great. So it's exciting space to have the kids in for the new year. The gas line repair at the high school is all set. The sinkhole, that's also all set. And Mr. McKeegan was able to work in conjunction with the village, which is nice that he has a symbiotic relationship with them to help take care of that. The Martindale property, there's an additional offer copy that was sent out to the homeowner, just awaiting information back on that from the homeowner. And required state fire inspections were completed ahead of the school opening, and this community pool closed for the season after a successful season. And the last thing we talked about at Buildings and Grounds was the electric bus walkthrough, and one of the things that was mentioned was your energy capacity that you need to be able to recharge these, and we're already, because you're required to have excess capacity, we're already at the limit just running what we've got now. So it's going to be a big project if it gets forced through. So, and that's what I've got.
So there's one other item that happened after the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting. Kevin and I, as you know, have been talking with the property owner of, I call it Carpy's Woods, the piece of property goes through the pines, right out the end of the building to Route 4. That property owner had talked about donating that property. At this time, I think it's worthwhile. I would make the recommendation that we actually have an appraisal done on that property to see what it's worth. We don't know that we need the property yet, but when it's time to need it, we'd like to have all the data we need to make good, sound decisions. So I don't want us to be waiting a couple of extra months when we're trying to get stuff into the state education department. If we need that property, trying to get an appraisal on what it's worth. So I would make a recommendation that the board approve us to expend, I'll say up to $1,000 to get an appraisal on that property. I'm guessing it'll be closer to $400 or $500 to do so, because that's what it costs us to get the Martindale house appraised.
Yep, I'm in favor. Anybody have any questions for Dana at all regarding that?
Or Kevin, I don't mean to talk over you, but. You covered it. Yeah, so we would need to do a motion.
So you heard the recommendation based on getting an appraisal done on the property on the east side of the building, no, the west side of the building, for up to $1,000. Do we have a motion? Okay. Crystal and Heidi, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Megan? Okay, that moves us to policy. Mr. DiCaprio?
I mean, we didn't meet last month, or this month, so, excuse me. There's a couple things on there. Actually, one really for second read and approval tonight. You'll see the policy 5840, the AI policy, still just hanging out there. We recommend not officially putting that in our manual just yet. Wait until we need to or something big comes up with it, but it's in there for you to read. And then was there one more that I'm forgetting about? Just these two? Or that one really that we're going to approve, the voter registration?
Okay, so it's just the 7440?
Correct.
And the 5840, are we doing that one as well? Okay, so that's being tabled.
Table that one, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we just in a motion to approve the second read on 7440, voter registration. Do we have a motion? Mike, seconded by? Crystal, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Any questions for Amanda or Mike? So that moves us to advocacy. This is your question.
Okay, I don't have a ton. reminder that the 19th is the ESPA meeting. And that's also the donation. One, they have, anybody. I also sent all of the goal things that we're going to be voting on. So if anybody back for October, then yes or no on all of those. And then I wanted to just point out Dan's letter, not just from Dan, but from their advocate, that was talking about,
Foundation aid.
I was going to say financial aid, sorry, I have a senior, we're talking about college a lot, foundation aid, and I wasn't sure, I think it would be everybody to understand full harm. That phrase gets tossed around a lot, and I'm not sure everybody has why it's financial or foundation, and so if you could just.
Sure. Yeah, so Hudson Falls has not been a hold harmless district for the past several years. I don't have 100 years of history, but for the past several for sure. But a lot of districts around us are. Basically, that means that no matter what happens with your student enrollment, no matter what happens with your community, you get at least the same amount of aid you got last year. So in our BOCES, about half the districts are hold harmless, and about half the districts have factors that make them generate more aid each year. We fall into the latter. We generate more aid each year based on actual factors inside of our school district. So there's inevitably going to be conflicting views on what should happen with the foundation aid formula going forward. Some people who are generating new aid every year, like Hudson Falls, and this is not us, but schools like us might say, well, all those people on hold harmless, yeah, sure, take their money away. And folks who are saying they're not generating new aid, they say, well, just take it away from them to give us the money we need. We're going to have to pay really close attention, because if our BOCES is split in half, I'm not exactly sure where the state of New York is, but for certain, our BOCES is usually a pretty strong team when it comes to advocacy. But I often speak up about hold harmless, the fact that some folks have been working with money that by the old formula wasn't necessarily due to them without the legislature saying we're going to do hold harmless, where folks like us have been waiting to be made whole for over a decade, and finally we are made whole. So we don't begrudge anybody getting the money they need for their students. We just want to make sure they're not going to rebalance it by taking away what we finally were given to make us whole. I think you put it aptly, why can't the state just provide the money that all of us need to properly educate a student in the state?
This comes 100% come up.
Okay, questions? Okay, concludes our committee reports. That moves us to superintendent's report.
Yes, you guys did a great job. You took all my bullets away. We did our walkthrough. I want to say that was our highest attended walkthrough, and I'm just starting my 4th year. It's one of the 4 years I've been here, so thanks to everybody. There was a ton to see, a lot of projects coming to the culmination, and a lot of things that are continuing on, and I think folks also wanted to hear a little bit about where the next project is taking us. We got a chance to have Dave talk us through that in a couple of different spaces. It's going to be pretty exciting as we get there. We mentioned the donations. You can get them to me or Kelly. Last year, Hudson Falls was one of we had, I think, the biggest pile of donations. So I want to thank everybody in advance for whatever you can bring in. The list was sent out a while back by Kelly. We're happy to bring it. And I think, Kevin, you're going to that one too. So we've got extra people to carry stuff. So load it right on them. The gentleman's name is Rick Timms. He's a pretty adept school finance, school fiscal kind of guy. And he's entertaining. So if you haven't been to one and that's up your alley, it's worth going to listen. That's how I got Kevin to go. And it's an Italian buffet. So that may be why he's emergency shelter agreements. I had shared in my updates last week that we had folks here from Fort Hudson. We are their emergency sheltering place. They wanted to look at one of our facilities. They're interested in several of our facilities, but we showed them the primary school, and that's kind of what we landed on. I did sign an agreement to allow them to use it. If it happens when school's in session, there will be some inconvenience for us. My standing statement is if an inconvenience to our school for a day or a week makes it so somebody's grandmother, grandfather, or loved one is in a good place, then I think it's worthwhile for the district to support that. We have sheltering agreements with other schools as well, to come here and for us to go there. Just being a good neighbor. Kelly linked the first Friday enrollment in there, and I printed it so I could be like Vince. You can see the number on there, the 2102. Sorry, it just happens, Vince. 21.2, it does show that we're down, about 150 students from last year over the course of all grades. So that's worth saying. And if you look at the enrollment by grade and the pre-K, and pre-K shows twice, so you can see the half day and the full day in case you're wondering about those numbers. As you can see, folks jumped on the full day, and Missy's out there, but full day's full, and full day is full, or full day pre-K? Yeah, so I've got them backwards, sorry, I got the numbers backwards, I think. But we're full, and that's something we're going to have to consider for next year, that we were concerned we wouldn't have enough families who would want full day. We were proved wrong very quickly. Yep. So there's the numbers for you. That's a Hudson Falls tradition. So tradition carries on. You got to see the first Friday enrollment. Student board member, I shared that law was passed. The governor's office has said there'll be more information on it, but I provided the initial information for everybody. I did have a conversation with the principals and directors yesterday about it. Basically, we said we would wait and let it rattle around in our heads a little bit and talk again. I meet with them almost every Monday about what the best way to do that is, but this group should talk about the best way to do that as well. For certain, I think we should have a member and an alternate, because kids are busy, just like you folks are busy. But it does match up with the board goal to have more student attendance here at our board meetings. So happy to entertain questions about that or any discussion you want to have about student Board of Education members. Not required till July 1, 25.
So I had sent you questions. I with them. And then it well, some different ideas. I'm hearing one or two. They'll make a commitment rather than.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. We would like to get some more student groups in to maybe talk for a few minutes during our meeting, present something or share something that's going on in our schools. But I think the student board member makes more sense to have somebody who onboards, maybe not exactly the same way, but learns the process and can provide some feedback to us. As you all know, they're not involved in executive sessions, they're not involved in any confidential sessions, and they can't have any access to confidential documents that you folks have. But they can sit at the table and they can provide some feedback to us. Excited about it. I think it'll be good for us and good for the student body. Last in there, I had vector training. So with some of the changes in New York State, there's some trainings that are required of board members now. So Vector should have been sending you folks emails over the last couple of weeks, and there may have been a very scary long list on there. So you were on the teacher list. So that's the scary list that the teachers and the admin got to see. Board members only had, there was 3 essential components. So that list, when you log back in now, that list will be corrected. If you are at a different school working or at a BOCES working, you've already done those trainings, and you can get those certificates. You don't have to do it twice. We just need to get those certificates to Kelly so we can make sure that training counts for the same, but we do need board members to do those trainings. Some of them are entertaining, other ones are less entertaining. But if you could do that by the end of the month, but certainly by next board meeting. If you have trouble logging in, or have no idea what I'm talking about and haven't gotten those emails, please reach out to Kelly or me so we can get you set up. We do want to be in compliance. As you know, the the best way for us to be in good shape when folks have complaints is to make sure that we're in compliance with those types of trainings. We can. You do not, but it's worth, if you've done some, shoot us an email, we'll check, just to be sure that we're showing them as completed on our end. That's what I had.
And that could be part of our professional
And
development.
absolutely, you're right, and it can help you reach one of your goals. Yep. And, sorry, you opened it back up. But you can do there's required, and then you can do, there's a whole catalog of training. So if there's a topic you have interest in, there's likely a training in there that you could do. Just so you know. Now I'm done.
Now you're done. Okay, so at this point, that concludes the superintendent's report. We do have a need for executive session for one student issue. We do not have a need to come back in a regular session for anything, so seeing a motion to enter into executive session. Amanda, Mike, all in favor?